What's up, everybody, and welcome to the iReach podcast. I'm your host, Paul Robinson, founder and CEO of ConstructReach, a national consultancy and initiative that aims to diversify the construction, design, and innovation industries and empower a younger generation. Every single week, we are here merging education, industry, and culture with a variety of featured guests that you do not want to miss. So let's go, iReach. All right, guys, we are back here for another episode of iReach, and we've got an amazing guest today. Matt Vetter is joining us. Matt, thank you for joining us today, man.
Paul, thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, man. We just want to talk, kind of get your story, your journey as it pertains to construction. Because as you know, we definitely need more people coming into the industry, but we also need more visibility to let this younger demographic know what their options are, right? And so that's one of the things that we are very passionate about, trying to reach people where they are, hence the name, iReach. So, Matt, let's jump into it, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of your story, your journey, and most importantly, how did you get into the construction industry?
Yeah, so I got my start in construction in my late high school years. I joined a residential custom home and remodeling crew. For the first 6 months, all I did was move piles of lumber from one side of the yard to the other. And I eventually learned that there was really no point in doing that other than to toughen me up, I think. But, it got my feet wet, got me in with the trades. I did that for a few years. I made a switch to commercial construction at some point in there. And I've owned my own companies. I had a residential company. I had a commercial consulting company where I did project management and supervision for hire, built primarily quick serve restaurants all over the country. I did that for about a decade. And then my wife and I started having children and kind of wanted to put roots down and stop traveling so darn much. So took a shift, took a job as a director of pre-construction services for a large general contractor here in the Detroit market. Started their pre-con department for them. Was there for about 5 years and realized that I'm not cut out for being an employee. I'm much better when I've got skin in the game. So that's what brought me to Schafer Construction. Just about 5.5, 6 years ago, I came on as a partner at Schafer Construction. As of the first of this year, 2023, I'm now the president and sole owner of the company. We build everything other than single family homes. So it's been quite a wild ride, but one I wouldn't give up.
No, absolutely, man. Thanks for sharing that because, with having such a long journey within this industry and kind of getting your feet wet and that dating all the way back to high school and then having the various positions, both commercial and residential, and then to see where you are now, in that true kind of leadership and so owner role, man. I mean, that is definitely worth celebrating. So congratulations on that. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes. Cool. So, when you were younger and you were getting your feet wet, and essentially kind of being introduced to this industry, what kept you within the industry of construction?
I'll be honest, I started because of the money. The money was great. As a high school kid, I was getting paid under the table. I had no bills to pay, or not many. But seeing the finished product is what kept me. Doing houses kind of instilled that in me, and to be able to hand over the keys to somebody's new home or remodeled home and see their eyes light up. I was like, man, that's a cool feeling I get, seeing these people get all happy for this thing you created literally with your two hands and the hands of lots of others. But that's what kept me, and that's what still keeps me, frankly. And now it's not houses, it's large commercial buildings, but it's the same kind of feeling, right? Is you're helping people, you're putting them in their new home for their business, where they're going to employ however many people. They're adding to the economy, and it's a great feeling to be able to create like that.
Yeah, no, that is good, man. Well said. But that's actually kind of a reoccurring thing that we do see with folks that are within the construction industry. And I think it's so true, man, that this is one of the sectors that essentially you can kind of see the fruit of your labor at the end of every day, right? There are some some lines of work where you don't know whether or not you're making progress and you're putting in a lot of effort, but you're not really seeing the fruit. Um, and being within construction, like you can literally see this project is further along than it was when I got here this morning, at the end of the day. And then, like you mentioned as well, just being a part of something that goes up in the community that creates an experience, right, for somebody else. You get a lot of gratification out of that. And I think that's definitely something that sets construction apart. And it's fulfilling to be able to sit back and say, yeah, I created that, or where people go to enjoy themselves or gather or whatever. Like, construction plays a role in that, creating those defined spaces for, some memorable opportunities to take place within people's lives. And so, yeah, man, that's definitely something that we see. Now, when you are talking to maybe young people and, trying to put them on, right, essentially to kind of let them know what this industry has to offer and educate them on what different career pathways exist, do you often share kind of that story, or share essentially how you can like see the fruit of your labor at the end of every day, and what's unique about that outside of the pay? Because we're going to talk about that too.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, I do a lot of speaking with kids, with youth, high school age kids especially, and that's one of the best parts about the industry is just what you just said, right? It doesn't matter if you're the guy swinging the hammer or digging the ditch or operating a machine or the guy in the office.
Yeah.
You can look at the end of every day and see production, real tangible production, and that's huge to me. And I think that's a draw for a lot of kids, especially too. The idea of going and not to pick on them, but going and being a lawyer, right? You can work all day long, and you don't really have anything to show for it on a daily basis, right? But when you're building, whether it's a wall or a pipeline or whatever it is you're putting together, you have that tangible evidence of, hey, I did something today, and I can prove it. And then, driving around town, my kids have gotten to the point now where they're like, all right, Dad, is that another building you built? But it's still cool to me. You can drive down the street and be like, I did that one over there, and it gets you in the fields too.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool, man. So now as the owner, right, of Schafer Construction, where do you guys kind of work at? Do you work all over, regional? I know you're in the Midwest area. You guys kind of work all over?
So we're based in Southeast Michigan, in Brighton, Michigan specifically is where our home office is. Yeah. We travel about 2 hours in a 2-hour radius normally. Outside of that, we start losing efficiency. Yep. We will travel farther if we have an existing client that needs us to. We have a hard time saying no to good relationships, but typically speaking, we're Southeastern Michigan based.
All right. So, Matt, as you are leading your company and taking into account kind of where we are from an industry perspective, right, with the need to get it younger, are there some specific things that you guys are doing to introduce the younger demographic to the industry of construction, and how are they responding to it?
Yeah, like I mentioned, I'm involved pretty heavily with a specific local high school here. They're a public charter school, kind of a quote unquote alternative high school. They do a lot of trade programs and things like that. So we're always down there speaking, just trying to get kids interested and excited, right? And we've started an internship program. We had one last year. I think we're going to get up to 6 possibly this year, once it warms up here anyways. And it's just, we pay them, we pay the kids, but it's more of getting them out there and putting them where they want to go and letting them see different things, right? And what I always tell these kids is, like, you can do anything in this industry, right? You could be the guy out in the field. You could be the guy estimating in the office. You could be in sales. You could be in social media marketing. There's a million different pathways you can take in construction. And so we try and tailor those internships to let the kids kind of touch and see every aspect of the industry that we have access to anyways. Get their feet wet in different areas. Let them see what they like.
No, that is great, man. I'm glad that you brought that up, because that's one of the things that we like to put emphasis on and amplify the importance of is internships. and allowing young people to get that exposure, see what their options are, like while they're still in school. Because I mean, that time keeps going, and so you want to keep up with the time, and having the opportunity to understand what your options are coming out of school, right? I think is far better than already being out of school and then trying to figure out what are my options, right? And so that intentionality, right? That intentionality with having internships built into your objectives, essentially, and that outreach, man, is very good. So kudos there. That's one of the things that we're very, very passionate about. And back to the money thing, when we start to talk about like how much money you can make within the industry of construction, like that's where the eyes just go super wide, man, and the mouth just drops, right? They're like, what? They never knew. And I think that's a huge need within the industry, is to kind of bring more visibility and exposure to the careers that exist within this industry of construction, because going from high school to high school and how we travel and how we work with educators and you as well, you find a lot of young people that just have no idea about like how much they can make within this industry.
Yeah, I mean, they think of construction as the guy swinging a hammer all day, and that's it. And I mean, don't get me wrong, that guy swinging the hammer all day could bring in a really seriously big paycheck. But there's so much else there, and there's so much opportunity. And, I don't know if you want to go down the college road, but we talk a lot about that too. I don't have any issue with college. Frankly, I went to college. I have a degree in a completely unrelated field. But I also had buddies who didn't, and they went into the trades right away after high school. They went to an apprenticeship. And by the time I came out of school with a boatload of debt, these guys are making six figures already at, mid-20s. It's like, well, if you're looking strictly at economics, that's a pretty easy decision, right? And then you put on top of that all the potential growth patterns and career development that you can have. And it's a win-win. And don't get me wrong, you can go to college and still do really well in the construction world, but I don't think you have to. I know you don't have to.
No, that's true. You do not have to be successful within this industry. But that's kind of the thing that we're trying to get away from. And actually, educators are beginning to kind of own that as well. Although it was never explicitly said, hey, if you don't go to college, then you're a failure. But a lot of K through 12 education has been about getting kids, budding young adults, right, to the next stage, and that's higher education. But now you start to see the integration of a lot of programs, a lot of CTE programs that are celebrating, right, a move into a 2-year kind of program, or going straight into the workforce, as they would celebrating somebody going into a 4-year college or university to get that type of degree. They're starting to celebrate them on par, and that's good, because for so long, construction had been seen as this industry that you fail into, right? Because a lot of times for a variety of reasons, if you don't go to college, then that's when construction is introduced, right? And so when you position it like that, you're not even showing it as, a viable choice option. It's almost like, okay, well, since things didn't go right for you here, then now you can do this, right? Or this is what's left for you. And we're trying to reposture that and reposition that, and educators are as well. And you'll see a lot of them kind of celebrating, young people going straight into the workforce, integrating certain career pathways into their curriculum, because college just may not be for everybody.
It's not for everybody. And, when I was growing up, I'm probably a little bit older than you, but like it was college or nothing, right? If you went to vocational school, trade school, you were a burnout. You were the kids that your parents warned you about. Yeah. And it's just not the truth, man. I mean, there's just so much opportunity out here that, like I said, college is fine. It's a fine path. There are benefits that can come out of that. If you were doing surgery on my brain, I don't want to know that you learned how to do brain surgery by watching YouTube videos. I want you to have some serious education, but there's other pathways. And now we're starting to see that here locally too, with the leadership at most of the educational institutions around are kind of finally realizing, like, all right, there is a balance, and you don't necessarily have to go to school to college, to a 4-year degree program right away. And that's the other thing that we talk about a lot is you could go and get an apprenticeship, learn a trade while you're making money, making good money. And then if you decide down the road, hey, okay, I want to move out of the field and say into an office role, and I want to make it to leadership someday, and I think college might help me. At our company, we'll help pay for you to go to college. And there's a lot of firms that do the same. There's no deadline, right? You can go back to school when you're 45 years old if you want.
Yeah. No, that's good, man. That's good. So when you think about kind of your career within construction, and you've been at this for a while, and you've had various positions, so I know you've got a lot of insight in terms of experience. What's been your biggest challenge within this industry, or with a particular role, right? What comes to mind when I just ask that broad question? Like, what's been your biggest challenge?
So, my roles have all been progressively higher and higher. So my most challenging role is where I'm at right now. And my biggest challenge, honestly, was building a great team. And I struggled with that initially when I came on board here, call it 6 years ago. I had a bit of a different mindset, and I had a real hard time getting people that fit into the vision that I wanted to go and build. We approached the market very differently than a lot of general contractors. It really wasn't until I kind of took a step back and really committed to my own core values, which then became the business's core values, and a huge push towards building a culture first. Once I did that, building the great team has been kind of easy, to be quite honest with you. And it's just a different mindset. The old construction guy, construction doesn't always have the best rep, right, for being warm and fuzzy. There was a lot of yelling and screaming in my early days that maybe got stuff done. It wasn't the most productive. It certainly was more stressful. The way the market has kind of shifted and the industry has changed, I don't want to say it's softened, but maybe it's lessened in that severe type A male-based mentality. And what we have now is more of a kind of a fun atmosphere. We can have a lot of fun. We have a fantastic culture at Schafer Construction, and I've built a great team because of that. But those initial year and a half of trying to build that team really from zero was tough, man. It was very hard.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail right on the head, though, in terms of focusing in on the culture first, because that begins to create the behaviors, that begins to inform people, like who we are, who we're not, what we stand for, what we don't, how we approach things. And it just puts everything in the context. And so, yeah, I mean, kudos to you, man, for really noticing that early and working on that, because, right, once you begin to establish the right foundation, i.e. the culture, you can build properly, right? And people, they come in, they understand, kind of how they add value, how they can contribute, how we go about work, and they see themselves being a valued member of that, everything that they do. And so, no, that is very good, man. Just kind of talking through that. So on the flip side, what's been your proudest moment?
My proudest moment, and it kind of goes back to that culture and my team, right? My proudest moments are when I have a client come to me kind of offline, not in a meeting, not in front of anybody, and say, Matt, I got to tell you, working with Jenny or Tim or Joe or Jason, working with your team has been the single best experience we've ever had. And everyone always told me, getting into a construction project, it's going to be miserably stressful and blah, 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 be horrible, blah, and all this stuff. Well, working with your team, it's not. It's been really quite easy, and we've learned a lot, and we're having fun. And that, to me, is like worth its weight in gold, right? I mean, and that happens more and more you build up that culture and reinforce those core values and really make sure that, I know that the people on my team fit very, very well, and they represent us very, very well, because at the end of the day, anybody can go and build a building, right? What we do is not outlandishly complicated, but it's how you do it. It's how you build relationships. It's how you treat people. It's how you act and react to things. And I know that my team that I have now and that we're continuing to grow, they'll go out there and make me proud every day.
Yeah.
And it's a cool feeling.
Yeah, yeah. And when you're trying to change that from a leader perspective, you can't just say that. Like, you have to walk that and you have to model that, right? Because the weight of your words is your life. So people have to see that so that now when you speak, they're like, yep, I'm listening to Matt because he walks that, he set the example. That's transformational leadership. I think a lot of times what we see is that people want a culture to change, but they don't understand like their role in modeling that change that they want to see.
You can't say it and not do it, right? Culture is more than a poster of your core values on the conference room wall.
Absolutely.
You got to live it, breathe it, and love it from the top. And if you're not walking the walk, no one else will follow you ever.
Yeah. No, that is good, man. Good. So when you look at kind of where we are as an industry right now, what would you like to see? I know you talked about when you were coming up, where it was a little bit more kind of rough around the edges, and you're starting to see those edges kind of smooth out a bit, right? What else would you like to see kind of happen within the industry of construction?
A return to making the trades cool again and promoting the blue collar. I don't want to swear in your show, but we call it the blue collar BA. We'll say that, all right? And really promoting that to kids to get them interested, to bring them in, because what we've lost over the last 20 years or so is we've lost our farm clubs. The average age of a construction worker in Michigan, depending on who you listen to, is somewhere between 45 and 55 years old.
Yeah.
The people start retiring, guys and men and women start retiring. And right now, like, we don't have anybody down in the farm club that we can pull up on our team and bring them in and get them trained and replace those people. So it's a critical issue, right? I mean, if we should have made the change a decade ago or 2 decades ago, but people like you, people like me are finally starting to push this and see positive change in the industry. And that's, I think, the direction we have to go, is getting kids in, getting young people in, and changing the overall mindset of a blue collar career. As we kind of touched on it earlier, it's not second best. It's not the failure job. It's not. We survive because of those blue collar careers, and we have to get a better feeling all around, a better outlook on what the construction industry really does for this country, for this world.
Yeah. No, well said, man. Well said. And I'm sure those are kind of things that you touch on a regular basis, because you have a podcast as well, right? The Construction Corner?
I do.
Yes.
Yeah, the Construction Corner. I co-host it with my buddy Dylan Mitchell. But we talk about this all the time. We get a little more colorful in our language, but construction guys can also have a little bit of pirate in them. But it's good to be able to talk about this sort of stuff and hop on different platforms like your own. And this is what it's all about, man. Is spreading the word, increasing the awareness, and that's how we all can do our little part here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We can't change everything, but we can control what we can change, right? And so let's definitely continue to be a part of that change that we want to see. Thank you, Matt, for joining us, man. It's been a pleasure to have you on. Such a wealth of knowledge, and you've been at this for a while, man. And so, yeah, much success to you.
Thank you, Paul. It's been fun.
All right, take care.
Thanks again, everybody, for tuning into our show. Remember, like, share, subscribe to the podcast, and join the movement as we reach to build a better future that we can all be proud of.